All right, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about APPIC cover letters. So I wanted to kind of do something similar to a video that Tanisha did about writing your internship cover letters. I think it is one of the areas of the kind of APPIC process that people don't talk about as much. They do talk about it, but I feel like a lot of people spend so much time on their essays and really need to focus on the cover letters. Um, Obviously, this is just anecdotal, but from what I've heard, places care more about the cover letters because they're more specific to their site. It actually talks about how your experiences make you a good fit. Whereas the essays, you're kind of writing those 4 essays and sending them to everyone. So it's not super specific. And those don't really tell you much about like how you're actually going to do at that site. So I wanted to talk about a few things that I think would be helpful in kind of crafting those cover letters. So as I go through this, I'm going to talk about my experience writing cover letters. So as a reminder, I didn't match in phase one, I matched in phase two. So I'm going to have some tidbits from kind of both phases for myself that I experienced, and then kind of say how I did them a little bit differently. I am going to share an example of a cover letter, but I'm actually going to share one from phase one because I do think that was the strongest cover letter that I wrote for my top sites in phase one. And really what I did in phase two was use those cover letters as templates because it went from, having a couple months to do them in phase one to only having 6 days to write cover letters in phase two. So I'm going to actually share the cover letter that I used as a template in the first phase, and then I'll kind of share some differences that I used when I was in phase two. But kind of broadly, the way that you approach cover letters is going to be different. You'll get a lot of different information, not a lot of different information, but like advice from people. But the most consistent things I've heard is that your cover letters shouldn't be more than 2 pages single spaced. If you're doing more than that, I don't know. I just feel like you're adding a lot more information that's necessary and you're spending more time on them than you really need to. What you really want to make it clear in your cover letters is that you've done your research on the site. So these cover letters are specific to each site, like you're writing them for every single site, and you don't want them reading through it and being like, this is either not about us or this is so general that it could be about anyone. So when I was in my last year of practicum in my program, my practicum site also had an internship, and one of the things that the director told me is that if she sees any mistakes or errors about like if you forgot to take out like another site's name, so if she sees a site name that's not hers, she's tossing it. If she sees a track that doesn't belong there, it's out. Obviously, this is just her take on it, but in reality, so many people are applying to so many sites, and anything to kind of weed out people, different sites are going to do different things. So you really want to make sure that once you have your cover letters written, you are really editing them, revising them, reviewing them, making sure that you're submitting the right ones to the right sites because they will do whatever they have to make it easier to go through these applications. And another point to remember is that aside from editing and revising, you need to make sure that you're not just regurgitating your CV. Obviously, you're going to talk about your experiences, but it needs to be in a way that integrates how this makes you a good fit for their site. So it shouldn't just be, I did this many assessments and I had this many clients from these cultural backgrounds. It's like, I have worked with children or adults with these different presentations, which aligns with this specific rotation that you have, and I want to build on those skills. I have done this, and this will really help me with the, have foundational skills in this area, but I really want to grow in this rotation that you have. So not just talking about like what you've done, but talk about the specific training opportunities that you're looking forward to doing at their site. So what I would say is when you start writing your cover letters, the advice I was given was start your first cover letter draft for the site that you're most excited about. So whether this ends up being the one that you rank first or not, As you're applying, you're going to have sites that you are very excited about. So start with those because you're going to be able to write, you're most excited. You're going to be able to communicate that as you're writing because you're excited about those sites. So along with that, you're also going to notice that you're really going to write one cover letter and use that as a template as you write the rest. And so after you have this first draft done, have someone else take a look at it, see if it makes sense, if you're super clear, make sure you're not making any mistakes with the names of the site or the tracks you're applying to. And then you can use that to kind of curate the rest of them. And you'll notice that, for now, you'll kind of have that first draft of the site you're most excited about. And then as you write them, I would say go in order by most excited. So as you go through and you are drafting out those cover letters, you're going to notice that they change, whether it's like the formatting or maybe you've moved around the different sections. And so as you do that, make sure you go back to revise the earlier ones so that they convey the information that you want them to. All right, so here is, let me make sure I'm sharing the right one. Yes, I am. So this is an example of my cover letter for the site that I was most excited about in phase 1. So this was a cover letter that I wrote for the site that I was most excited about. I got an interview for. I did rank it number 1. And so even though I did not match there, I do think this is a very good example of, in my opinion, a cover letter. And so I just started out with, the date and all their information. Dear Dr. Whoever, some of them will say like, please address it to this specific person. Some will say address it to the internship selection committee. Make sure you're reading their website because again, you want to be able to show that you can do your research, that you can read, that you follow instructions. That is also part of the cover letter experience that a lot of people will tell you, but they won't exactly, spend too much time on. So make sure you can show them that you can read. And so I just started with, I'm pleased to present an application for health service psychology internship at blank for this year. I'm interested in your program's blank tracks. Make sure if they have multiple tracks, you are putting the correct track name. If they have like a code, make sure you put it in there. Some sites will tell you specifically what information is required in kind of like this first paragraph. But I think these 2 sentences are pretty standard for most people. Like just say what it is. Why are you applying here? And then I said, I believe that my experience makes me an excellent fit. I'm interested in your work because you do this. Consistent with my training. I'm looking for this, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to differ a little bit from the way I did it in phase 2, but I just want to share that like this first section is really just like introduction, like who am I, what are you doing here, emphasize how excited you are to apply for this opportunity, and why it is important to you. And then the way that I did it was broke it up into different goals. So in phase 1 I kind of went through each goal separately. I went through like this first one, I really wanted to find a site that really emphasized like anti-racist values and cultural humility. Like these are areas that some sites were very they spoke about a lot in their materials. So I talked about that and how my experiences would align with that. The second goal, I talked about diverse populations, and then I talked about like the different clinical experiences I really wanted. So I'm actually not going to show you that because I don't want anyone to take it. But like being very intentional about why you have the goals that you have, making sure that your goals make sense also with your essays. So like I said, some people read the essays and the cover letters. Some people might only read your cover letters. I don't know that I've heard of people only reading essays, but for those who read both, if something seems weird and wonky and like your goals aren't aligning with some of the things you said in your essays, they are reading a lot of applications, but things like that might stick out. So just be mindful of that. Make sure you're consistent. Talk about how your experiences have got you there and how you are a good fit for their site. I would also say that I will say that my phase one cover letters were good, but when I show you the example from my phase two, you'll notice that I get even more specific just because um, I felt that I had a lot of, anxiety around, my chances in phase two. So I like went in even harder. But this is how I did it. Intro, 3 paragraphs, one goal each. And then that last paragraph is like, again, reiterating like why you are applying there, like your interest in their site and whatever tracks they have. Just talking about like if there's anything else you want to put in there about why it would be a good fit for you. What you really want to hit home is that this is a great fit for me. So much of the internship process is about fit. It's not about what you want, it's about what works like for what they need and what you need. So if you're kind of grasping at straws to make it work, then it probably is not a good fit and they're going to notice that. And then you close it out with like all the best, cheers, sincerely, whichever. Signature, I just took a picture of my signature and I copied it and pasted it in every, what's it called? Cover letter, same one. Your name, thought candidate, and whatever your university. Boom. But that is kind of the way that I did it in phase one. I won't say that phase two was super different. Some of the things I did exactly the same. Others I switched it up just because I was really honestly stressed and didn't know how to make it better in phase two. So here I will show you what a phase two cover letter looked like for me. So this is actually the cover letter for where I am right now. So the difference you might be able to see is that I included the little Michigan State letterhead. I noticed that some people included that in their phase one applications. I was like, sure, sounds great. I also changed a lot of formatting. So with this one, I bolded things. I was just like, your site, this track, main goal. And the difference you'll also see is at the end of this first paragraph, I said, these are the 3 goals that I have. And then I went into them for the rest of the cover letter. So whatever 3 goals I put in this first paragraph, I italicized as a header for those paragraphs. So I put, this one was my first goal. And then when I got to the bottom of it, I bolded. I'm like, remember, I'm trying to do some assessment. And then the second one, I was like, we want to do this, and blah, 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 blah. And the third one, I italicized and I da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's really just I was kind of trying to help them out. Because in phase two, so unlike in phase one, where you have several months to kind of get your application together, phase two is quick. I had 6 days to write cover letters, and I applied to 15 sites in phase one and 15 sites in phase two. The difference was I had about 3 to 4 months to write them in phase one, and in phase two, I had 6 days. I didn't even have a full week. And on top of that, I was crying, screaming, throwing up, just trying to get over the fact that I did not match in phase one. So I really took from my phase one cover letters and had to chug these out. I will say, if anyone is watching this in phase two, that anything you can do to help them help you is probably greatly appreciated. That's why I bolded these things, because they're reading, I don't know how many applications, but I was like, here are the main things that you need to know about me. Here are my goals. If they're just skimming over my application, I want the stuff that's really important to pop out to them. And I would say I kind of wish I had done that in phase one. Not to say that they, needed to have that kind of like in their faces, but why not? It helps. I like to draw attention to the eye. Otherwise, like the format, the structure is the same. Intro, 3 goals, conclusion, end. Like, that's all you need. I think something that is really important to remember when you're writing your cover letters, like I said before, is that you are trying to convey to them why you are a good fit for their program. Something that someone shared with me about from like a previous cycle was that someone said, like, you as an intern don't have anything to offer the site. Don't say that you are going to be an asset. I think that is the wackiest kind of advice or just like thing to say to a person, to say that you do not have the skills to help them, because if you don't have the skills to help, why would they bring you on? Like, they're not looking for a blank sheet of paper, they're looking for someone who at least has an outline on it, you know? Like, be confident in the skills that you have and convey that to the training directors, to the selection committee. Like, be confident in your skills. Don't be wishy-washy, because that is only going to bite you in the butt. Your internship year is a year where you are not only looking for training experiences to kind of get you to the early career phase, but they're also looking to build early career psychologists. And to do that, they need to know that you've got the skills to do it. So by saying, I'm just here to learn, which is true, that's not the whole picture. You have a lot of great skills. And like for me, I didn't super emphasize it because, again, school psychology, people have their own opinions about it. But I kind of leveraged my skills with my training in school psychology in a lot of these. I applied to a lot of like children's hospitals and like academic medical centers. And having a background in school psychology in education is actually an asset that some programs do not have, because they don't have like the foundational knowledge of like what education looks like in schools. And for me, because I'm working with children, if you're doing assessments and you're making recommendations in a report, I know what might be feasible in a school that maybe other people don't, because all I've been told is, well, these are the recommendations for ADHD. It's like, okay, maybe, but schools don't have the capacity to do that. So I need to tailor my recommendations to something that is evidence-based, that will support that student, but is actually feasible. I've been on the other end of some of the reports that have come from, hospitals, community mental health, and some of the things they put in there are just like not feasible. And then you have people kind of scratching their heads like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? We can't do this. So just kind of thinking about how your experiences are an asset and they set you apart from others is something that you want to include in your cover letters as well. Again, I would remember to look in the APPIC's internship workbook. They have examples of cover letters. They've got a lot of good information about how to structure them, how to tailor them. I would give you the same information, the same advice about having other people look at your cover letters. Don't have too many people do it. I would say once you have someone look at your template, give you some feedback, you write your other ones, maybe you've gone back to change that first one, maybe send them that one again and any feedback you get from there. But really, you don't want too many people changing things around, because you also don't want it to take away from your voice in the cover letter itself. So I think that's it. Use your cover letters as an opportunity to speak directly to the site, to the training directors, to the selection committee. The essays are such like a bird's eye view of who you are. The cover letters are really what's going to help them know whether or not you're a good fit for that site, in my opinion. So with that in mind, do that. And then my next video, which will come later, I will not post that one until like later in the year, like after applications have been submitted, will be about ranking. I'll talk about my rankings in phase 1. I'll probably do a separate, I don't know, I'll think about it whether or not I want to do separate videos about ranking in phase 1 and phase 2. I don't think so. I'll just add some tidbits in just like I did today. So that's what I'll do. But anyway, I hope this is helpful. If you have any tips about your own cover letters and how you wrote them, definitely write them in the comments below. But I will catch you later. Bye.